What's a weird or unexplained experience you had while in the hospital? Back in August of 2020, I woke up one morning and passed out and threw up blood all over the place. I was rushed to the hospital where I then learned that I was very close to dying because I had a massive stomach ulcer and I was bleeding extremely bad. My stomach had filled up with blood while at the hospital before being rushed into emergency surgery. I was terrified. I didn't know if I was going to make it, and this woman came into my room. She looked at me and asked me, "Are you doing okay?" I said, "Yeah." She then asked me, "Are you scared?" I said, "Yes, I am not religious at all," but she asked if she could pray for me, and I was so worried about not seeing my kids again that I said, "Yes, please." I don't remember the prayer, but I remember she finished and told me everything is going to be okay, and that she'd see me later. She left, and I never saw her after that again. I was in that hospital for 17 days. Then I thought about it. I realized she wasn't dressed like the nurses or any other staff. She wore all black. And it has me wondering who or what was she. I had not been given any pain medicine or anything yet, so it was not a hallucination. I've been thinking about it for 3 years now, and I need answers. Experience 1. I was in the hospital for severe back pain and couldn't walk. I was crying, doped up on pain meds, and I seen my ex-BF standing at the end of the hospital bed looking and smiling at me. It was for a second. He passed away a year before that. Experience 2. I work in a hospital. I do human resources and my coworker, and I decided it would be funny to get a "that was easy" button from Staples to press when we solved an issue quickly. Immediately after getting the button, every time one of us finished a task, whether it was answering questions, finishing a project, or sending an email, that button went off on its own. At first it was funny, but very quickly got creepy. We got so creeped out by the button going off constantly that we put it away in our supply closet. We never heard the button again. After about a year, we were cleaning the closet and I saw it. Thought, well, it seemed to have stopped acting up, and stuck it on the desk. Went and filed some paperwork away, and after I finished and closed the desk drawer, the damn button went off. I threw it away after that. It was too creepy. Experience 3. I was about 19 and ended up in the ER. One minute I was alert and talking, and in a short amount of time, my vitals started tanking. I remember so clearly that I had a person on each side of my bed that wasn't just there, and I remember thinking, this isn't right. I could hear the nurses talking and saying my name loudly, but then they faded as I focused more on the newest members of the room. To my right was one of my friends. She just smiled at me. It made me happy knowing she was there, and I wasn't alone. But then I looked to my left, and it was the prettiest little girl. She looked about 5 years old. Had mousy brown hair with little curls. Her eyes crinkled at the edges when she smiled. She was wearing a burgundy dress and seemed to know me. I had never seen her before, but I was happy she was there. She said in a super calm, sweet voice to not fall asleep, and that it wasn't my time. I said something to her, can't remember, but she told me I was going to be okay. I immediately trusted her, but I did lose consciousness. I woke up in the ICU about 12 hours later and made a full recovery. I've shared that story with a few people I'm close with over the years. I assumed it was my brain's way of saying hang in there, so I didn't make too much of it. Fast forward several years later. I had a really rough pregnancy with stacked medical issues, so it was a fight to get to full term. I had beautiful little girl. One day when she was around 5 or 6, she came out of her room wearing a burgundy dress, her hair with her natural little curls, swirling her face, and said something that I can't remember to me. I started crying. It was her. Her hair, her sweetness, her dress, her everything, even the joy she brought when she walks in a room. I firmly believe she was by my side that day fighting for me, so could fight for her. I will never forget that moment. Either one. Experience 4. So, I am going to go see the new movie After Death. Both my mom and I are in medical field and love everything science. I am very curious though, because when my mom went to deliver my brother, she lost a lot of blood. She needed a C-section, but this was a different country, so they pushed for natural labor. In it, my brother almost died. He was so big, but my mom, due to losing all that blood, needed a blood transfusion. She was cross-matched, but still had an anaphylactic reaction, and coded. She literally had no pulse. Since she was a pediatric nurse at that hospital, she knew the OB/GYN, other nurses during delivery. When she coded, she told us later, she was levitating above and saw them working on her. She saw her fellow friend nurse crying over this. She saw physicians calling her name to come on, pull through. She explained she was seeing this from above them. She definitely was not alive for a short time. When she came back, she confirmed with the fellow nurses and physicians, and that was exactly what has happened. Her friend was there crying for her, and doctors kept calling her name. I remember we visited her in the hospital, and we could not go in upstairs, and my dad took a picture of her looking down and waving at us through the window. I still have that photo. My parents are alive, and she looks like a ghost. She was so white as a sheet. She lost so much blood. She was severely anemic. Experience 5. My mother-in-law just recently passed away in the hospital 2 days ago. While we were by her bedside, about 5 minutes before she passed, I saw an all-black figure pass by the mirror in the room. I looked to see if it was maybe me or someone else moving, but it was an all-black figure that passed from the back of the room to the front, where she was in bed.